Well, this Captain T-Bone is a strange-looking fellow, but all in all, I thought it was a cool chapter because this is where everyone comes together, despite their differences.
One Piece, Chapter 366, Sortie. I guess. Shorty? Sortie?
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and adventure-filled and Franky Family Galley straw hat-ridden tale of One Piece. Our last chapter saw us with really everybody, getting on the sea train, this Rocket Man, and it being, it just kind of getting ready to leave with Luffy and Nami, headed by Kokoro, but or driven by Kokoro, I should say, and then of course Luffy, Nami, Chopper, and Zoro headed along with the Franky family, who decided to come last minute to Eni's lobby. And I thought this was cool because that's where the chapter left off, and it picks up right here where they're just kind of come flying out of the gates, out of the terminal, and they've once they get going, they've got to actually steer to get connected and clip onto the tracks. But you see these cool looking drawn huge King Yagara bulls, two of them that the Franky family has, and the Franky family's like, we're 50 strong in this net, so they got everybody up in there, right? And they wind up hitching onto the back of the train and get going, which I thought was cool. So anyway, some big waves are hitting and everything else, and everybody winds up eventually kind of going inside. And as they're inside, you go and you see this picture where, and you can see from the back, you can see Paulie, who I knew had already, snuck onto the train from last chapter, but then you see Lulu, because of his hair sticking up in the one spot, and Tilestone, just because he's enormous, right? So then they're like, something seems out of place right here, and they're like, so one of them goes, oh, what do you mean? And he's like, you mean you idiot. And really what it is the Galley company being there. They had no idea. So the idea here behind it is that Paulie's like, listen, I'm not here on official business from the Galley company. I'm just here to go and, and basically get revenge and because of Mr. Iceberg's attempt on his life and everything else, right? So then we go and we find out, and I thought this was funny too, you get these characters that are just so dense, right? And so Paulie's like, yeah, they're like, just come out with it, what's going on? You're like, who's behind this type of thing? And they're like, yeah. Paulie's like, I'm sure you could have figured it out because, they left abruptly and everything else, but Kaku and Lucci and Kalifa and Bluno from the bar are all these secret agents and are behind this whole thing. We're behind the assassination, blah blah. And they're like, we never thought that at all. They thought it was like some schmoes from the back alley, Michael and something else. And I was just like, oh god, Really, what I like though about the chapter and what transpired while they were on this the sea train over here is that you see a bunch of people that are coming together for a common goal and a common purpose, and it was really nice too because Luffy says, okay, that's cool, we'll fight, and Paulie says, I want to fight alongside you here. They're all going to fight alongside each other, even though they've kind of had their problems and differences. Now, the stuff between the Straw Hats and the Galley company, that was obviously some bullshit that was orchestrated to make it look like this and that. The Franky family and the problem they had with the Straw Hats was just straight up them being, just scummy type of thieves that tried to steal from them and then, of course, hurt somebody and whatnot on their crew. But the point is that now they're going to all come together and obviously help each other out for a common goal. So you've got these three foremen from the Galley company. I like their designs. I like Lulu. Tilestone, I think, is just cool, just this enormous tank. And then, of course, Paulie, I've already mentioned, I think is a very cool character. But they wind up going in, one of the Franky family guys and Paulie and Luffy all wind up putting their hands in the middle and basically, kind of making a pact, like, hey, we're gonna join up. And so now they've got like a formidable little force, like their own little army, I guess you would say, going in there, because we know that the Franky family's 50 strong. The Galley company foremen, as far as I'm concerned, they're more like headliner type guys as opposed to being just red shirt fodder. I think that they're more formidable, I guess, as opponents than just just kind of a regular maybe Franky family member. But I'm sure some of them probably have their strengths as well. So and then seeing Kokoro and all that, and then it's funny because they're all sitting there and then they're like, Kokoro, shouldn't you be guiding a train or driving the train? And she's like, I told you, it's a runaway train, man. This thing has there's no way to adjust the speed, okay? You're at top speed all the time. So my job was just to get it onto the tracks. That's what I did. And there's a huge wave coming, for Aqua Laguna. But then they kind of make this pact and nothing's going to beat us and that sort of thing. And then they're like, there's no stupid wave that's going to beat us. And it's kind of cool to go and see just this indomitable will and force amongst them. That they're all together. Things are finally starting to look a little bit more positive, although there's still some things going on that they have to go and fix, and obviously rescue Robin, rescue Franky, Usopp, all that stuff. But there's some hope. There's a glimmer of hope, whereas 10 or 20 chapters ago, whatever it was, when they first encountered CP9, everybody was thrown for a loop, obviously, myself included, but the Straw Hats just in general, they wound up being decimated very quickly. You thought Robin was evil. You had just lost Usopp, Luffy and Zoro just got dismantled and just tossed out of the place, It looked like Chopper, it had been crushed, underneath the debris. Nami was thrown out a window, and Iceberg and Paulie were strapped back to back in a burning building, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade style. So it was not looking good, and at least now I feel like there's some hope as they go and they head towards Eni's lobby. So that's what the majority of the chapter winds up taking place in. We wind up seeing the last few pages. It takes us back to where we had left off from the beginning of last chapter, and that's back on the sea train that's bound for Eni's lobby. The Puffing Tom, obviously. Well, I shouldn't say for Eni's lobby. They're both on the way to the Puffing Tom. We'll go back to that. So we're back there, and they wind up getting. First, you wind up seeing this Captain T-Bone, right? And this dude, I don't know what his deal is, but he looks as if he's dead. He looks like he's been conjured up and risen from the dead. He looks like the character Sir Daniel, I think his name was, from Medieval 1 and 2. He just looks like a resurrected corpse. But anyway, he winds up going and ripping off a piece of his legendary or whatever, his sacred cloak, to go in and bandage a wound from some kind of insect bite that one of his guys has. Like, nobody will go wounded in my crew, And then it goes and it introduces the guy over here, and it says, Captain T-Bone, Navy Headquarters, hobby, saving people, motto, 100 good deeds per day. But you see the dude over there, and he just looks, again, like he died, about, I don't know, a couple of years ago or something, and got dug up, And everybody's even like, oh, God, his face is really scary, But what winds up happening is he gets word that cars 6 and 7, everybody in there has been wiped out, and the 2 of the prisoners are missing, and this and that. So we know that, obviously, that's bad. Back earlier in the chapter, as shit was about to hit the fan, the transponder snail was ringing in the Rocket Man car that they were in, the Rocket Man train, the other train, and Nami was going to answer it, and you wind up going and connecting up with that. And it was actually Sanji calling over here at the end, which I thought was cool. So he's getting everybody mobilized and ready to go. They're going to take him out. Sanji, Franky, and Usopp are free, but for some reason on top of the train right now. So I don't know if they're just going to try to go and head off and just go right past that car 5 or what. But anyway, he's just like, Nami, can you hear me? So, yeah, what, is that you, Sanji? Yeah, thanks to the presence of a couple of idiots over here, things have gotten a bit nasty. And that's how the chapter, winds up ending off over here. We're almost at the end of the volume as well. So, very cool stuff. Don't know a lot about this Captain T-Bone fellow over here, and don't know if he's just going to kind of be a goofy throwaway character. But his design is cool, though. I got to admit, his design is cool. This sort of undead warrior and what have you. So, but, you never know with some of these characters. Characters like Kaku, he looks like a Pinocchio, not just because of the nose. He looks like a wooden boy, like a mannequin, a doll, something like along those lines. As does Kokoro. So, I know that a lot of people are like, no, they're human. And then there's other ones from the Marines, like that one captain from back in Arlong Park, the real dickhead that tried doing that shit to Nami and taking her money and everything like that. And he had like the cat whiskers, So these they have to be. I'm assuming that it's almost like, as opposed to being, human or non-human, some other type of race, period, I think it's probably just like another maybe nationality or something like that in the kind of world of One Piece, and that's where people get whiskers, and people look like, little dolls, and people look like, well, this guy, I don't know what his deal is, but like I said, he looks like he was dead. So that's how the chapter ends off over here. So, but ultimately, my chapter question for you, though, brothers and sisters, is what are your thoughts on the kind of small army, I guess you would say, the fighting force that has been amassed between the Galley company members, of course, that are there, the Foremen, the Franky family themselves, and then the Straw Hats. For me, I thought it was a very touching moment. I thought it was great that they all got together and put their differences aside. And Luffy made a speech about that. He's like, listen, we all had our beefs, with each other back in the town, but this is different now. We all have common goals, and we're here. We're all here to go and to either rescue a loved one, someone that you care about, or to avenge a loved one. In the case of the Galley company, taking out their vengeance for the attempted murders and the 19 times that Iceberg was shot. So very cool stuff, though. But anyway, let me know what your answer is to that question is in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation.
So I'd appreciate it if y'all could follow me on my other channel as well as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.